Hey, everybody, welcome back. Today, I'm going to share with you 5 big mistakes that I see people making when choosing their freight broker niche. So, I'm going to share with you 5 mistakes that I see that are very common and very costly when choosing your freight broker niche. Thank you for joining me. My name is Dennis Brown. I'm your host. Uh, for those of you that don't know me, been an entrepreneur for over 25 years, been very, very blessed, built 4 multi-million-dollar companies now, and started my freight brokerage in 2003, grew that to over $80 million a year in sales, was very, very blessed. I'm also the owner of freightbrokerbootcamp.com, which is the most cost-effective and comprehensive online freight broker and freight agent training program. Trained over 10,000 students, had that program for over a decade now, and we offer a 60-day, 100% unconditional money-back guarantee. So we're going to dive into the training in just a minute. Again, I'm going to share with you 5 big mistakes that I see freight brokers making when choosing their freight niche. All right, this is really important. So as we let people get live here, hit me up in the comments, and I may try to give you a shout out here, the city and state you're logging in from. We've got, let's see, Next Links from Valley Stream, New York is ahead of the game. So hit me up in the comments with city and state you're logging in from. I'd love to hear from you. And then once we get some people in here, we're going to start the training. So here's going to be the agenda. We're going to do the training. Then we're going to do a quick giveaway. And then we're going to do live Q&A at the end. If you stick around to the end, we're going to do some live Q&A. So I hope you're excited. If you have questions, whether you want to become a freight broker or freight agent, whether you're already a freight broker, freight agent, and struggling, stick around to the end. I do live Q&A. And I hope I can help. So what do we got? We've got Joe Almighty from Fort Lauderdale, Florida. Welcome. Michael Killen from Los Angeles. Lado from Key West. Zoran from Macedonia. Love it. Devin from Markham, Illinois. Cynthia from Maryland. Holistic Logistics from Kennesaw, Georgia. Anna Henson from Dixon, Illinois. Hey, Zoran, Macedonia. What time is it there? It's got to be like crazy late. What time is it? We've got Bob from Mineola, Kansas. Teal Love from Virginia. Eric Francis from Upper Marlboro, Maryland. Novelty Logistics from Toronto. Holistic Logistics. You can't see me. I'm not sure. I think the video is working fine for everybody else. Check your video feed. Check your connection. Marinus Warner from Coconut Creek, Florida. All right, cool. So we got a bunch of people getting live. Again, today I'm going to share with you 5 mistakes that I see freight brokers making when choosing their niche. Now, this is a really important topic, and we're going to pull this apart, right? I've got some great notes here. The agenda is very simple. We're going to do the training. We're going to then do a free giveaway. I don't know, maybe I'll give away a Freightpreneur t-shirt. I'm not sure if anybody wants one of those. Maybe we'll give away some cash. And then we're going to do live Q&A. You have the ability at the end here to type your questions into the chat box. I'll try to answer those questions live today. And if I can't get to them today live, then I'll try to come back into the feed later, and we will try to address them either private message or in the feed, okay? Cool. We got a lot of people in here. Awesome. All right, listen, let's get this show on the road. I know you guys are very busy. I appreciate you taking the time. Do me a huge favor. The price of admission before we start the training is this. The price of admission is this. First, hit the like button. Okay. That's very important. If you're going to be here, there was no credit card. There was no paywall to get in here. Okay. This is a free training. Hit the like button. But more importantly, share the stream. Click the share button. If you're on Facebook or YouTube or wherever you're at, share the stream. If if you're not any of those things and you're on your phone, copy the link and text it to 3 of your friends. Trust me. I appreciate it more than you know. And it's what keeps me doing these free trainings. Because again, I don't have to do these trainings every week. These are free trainings above and beyond my Freight Broker Bootcamp online course. These are just ongoing trainings that I do for the community. And it motivates me to come back week after week. So like, comment, and share the stream. All right, cool. All right, so here we are. Today, I'm going to share with you 5 big mistakes I see people freight brokers making when choosing their freight broker niche. All right. So these are mistakes that I see, very common mistakes, but can be very costly mistakes. All right. So for those of you that know me, for those of you that may not know me, There's a saying, I didn't coin the phrase, but riches are in niches. And I'm a big believer in niching down as a freight broker. I think it's very hard to start and grow a successful freight brokerage by trying to be everything to everybody. Okay. So here are 5 mistakes that I see freight brokers making when choosing their niche. Number 1, not pursuing their interests and or things they have past experience with. All right, so let me give you an example. If you previously worked in the produce industry and you have intelligence and insight and experience and connections in the produce industry, that could be a great niche to start to pursue. That could be a great niche to start with. All right. Or other niches that maybe you have some sort of interest in, maybe international trade. You're interested in import exports. Maybe you're interested in the auto industry. You know, if you have an interest and or past experience, that's a great place to start. And I see people not doing that. They're not gathering all that they have inside of them as far as interest and experience and leveraging it as a way to choose their niche. So that's a huge mistake. That's number 1. Okay. Number 2, not niching down enough. All right. So, you know, the fact is you can't serve everyone. And you can't say, this is not a good niche, the van niche. All right. Say I'm going to do van freight. That's not a good niche. And I mean, it's not a good niche, not because you can't make money moving van freight or there's not a demand for van freight. There is. But the problem is it's too broad. You're trying to serve too big of an audience. And when you try to serve everybody, you end up serving nobody. Okay. So there's a saying that I heard a long time ago: to avoid drowning in the ocean with a broad niche, it's better to learn how to swim in a pond first. All right. So beyond that, it's easier to position yourself as an expert. It's easier to get your prospects' attention when you niche down. So rather than saying, and in addition, there's less competition, right? So there's less competition when you niche down because you're able to differentiate yourself. So rather than saying van freight, you might say, okay, I'm like when I first started, I'm going to focus on Northeast outbound van freight. So it's got to originate in New York or PA or up into New England, and it's got to go on a van and it's got to go west or south. That was my first niche. So that's an example of taking a very broad niche of van freight and niching it down into something that is much more manageable and much more realistic and much more targeted. Okay. So that's number 2, which is not niching down enough. I see that quite frequently. Number 3, believe it or not, and I see this from time to time, is niching down too much. All right. So niching down too much prevents you from having a big enough market, what they call a TAM, or a total addressable market. You've got to have a big enough market to grow and sustain a business. So rather than focusing on, like, here's an example, rather than focusing on bottled water out of New York, which is very limited. Okay. There's only a certain amount of bottlers of water in New York, right? So that's very, very, very niche. So rather than focus on bottled water providers out of New York, you may change that and broaden your niche a little bit to say bottled beverages as a whole, right? And you may focus on just the Northeast, right? Or Northeast outbound, like I did when I originally started my business, right? So that's an example of taking a very small niche, a too small of a niche, which is the New York bottled water providers, right? And then converting that into bottled beverages, which opens it up into all kinds of beverages, and then opening up that geography a little bit. All right. So that's an example of, some people that would niche down too much and how to fix that. All right. Number 4, not researching your niche before pursuing it. Some people just get this harebrained scheme that this is the niche I'm going to go after, right? I'm going to go after flatbed freight out of the Midwest. Okay, great. That sounds like a great niche, but you have to research your niche. You have to do some due diligence. You have to educate yourself. So some of the things that you're going to want to know. So who are the top 50 shippers in that niche? Who are the top 5 or 10 competitors in that niche? What is the load to truck ratio in that region when it comes to the equipment that they're going to be using, right? So those are some examples of things that you would want to know before going into a niche. I mean, there's a lot of other things that you'd want to know. You'd also want to know, is it a growing niche? Is it a shrinking niche, right? Are there more jobs in that niche this year than last year, or less jobs? Right? So what is the size of that niche in billions of dollars? Typically, each niche is going to be billion-dollar niches, right? So you're going to want to do some researching and be educated, right? You need to educate yourself about that niche before you pursue it, right? And then number five is this: giving up too quick because you get distracted. Everybody's heard it before, shiny object syndrome. So you start to pursue a niche, and then you start getting a little resistance, and you're not having all the success you thought you would have, and it's not going as quick as you would like, and money's not falling out of the trees. And you decide, because you heard something on YouTube, or you read something online, or you watched something on TV, and you decided to pivot into a totally different niche without any rhyme or reason. Okay? So that's number 5, which is, pivoting too quick, not giving enough time to develop that niche, and falling victim to shiny object syndrome, right? It's very easy to do. There are tons of niches out there. There are tons of opportunities out there. And I've told this story before. When I first started my freight brokerage back in 2003, we were van freight only, Northeast outbound. I just told that story. It had to come out of the Northeast and go west or south on a van, or we weren't moving it. And I would have people that worked in my organization. I'd have salespeople and brokers inside my organization come to me and say, yeah, but Dennis, I've got this opportunity out of Georgia. Or yeah, but Dennis, I've got this opportunity to move freight out of Texas. Or yeah, I got the ability to move flatbed loads out of California or the Pacific Northwest. And I would tell them, no, that's not our niche. I understand that there are opportunities in other niches, but we are focused on this niche now. You can catalog all those opportunities, and maybe we'll pursue those later. But right now, I need you to spend your time and energy and resources on finding van Northeast outbound freight, so we can develop that niche. We can become a valuable resource in that niche. We can position ourselves as experts in that niche, and then we can expand strategically later. Okay. So those are my 5 big mistakes to avoid when choosing your freight broker niche. These are very important. Pay close attention to these, because again, that saying, riches are in niches, but not every niche is a good niche. And understanding these 5 mistakes that you could make will definitely help you hone in on the right niche. So I hope you guys enjoyed this. If you did, make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. If you're curious about becoming a freight broker and you're not quite sure where to start, maybe you've been getting a lot of information on YouTube and Google and all over the place, but it just doesn't all come together. It's not jiving together. Check out freightbrokerbootcamp.com. Trained over 10,000 students, been in business, had that program for well over a decade now. And we've, we offer a 60-day, 100% unconditional money back guarantee. If you're not happy, just ask us, send us an email, and we will gladly refund your money. So hope you guys enjoyed that. Make sure, again, like, comment, and subscribe. Hit me up in the comments. Let me know what you guys thought of this training. Rank it from 1 to 10. I'd love to hear from you. If it was 1 and it sucked, hit me up with a 1. Let me know how I can improve it. If it was a 10, let me know. I truly appreciate it. I want to make sure I'm serving you and hitting the mark. Appreciate you being here. Have an awesome day. Like, comment, subscribe, and we'll see you soon. All right. Hold tight, everybody. I'm not going anywhere. As long as you're willing to hang, I'm willing to hang. So here's the agenda. I'm going to do a quick giveaway, and then I'm going to do Q&A. So hold your questions. Hold your questions. Okay. I hold your questions until I say, but we are going to do a quick giveaway. Let me, grab a drink. Anybody else drink Bai? I love it. This is a little different than my normal flavor, Costa Rica Clementine. I normally drink the blueberry, but this is all I had today. So, all right, listen, I hope you guys enjoyed that. Again, it's a free training. Here's what all I would ask you to do. The price of admission is like this stream. Comment with some questions when we get to the Q&A. And then most importantly, click the share button and share this right now. Share it with a few people. Share it on your Facebook feed. Share it on Instagram. Share it on Pinterest. Share it wherever you want. But please share the stream. Let other people know about it. It's how a lot of people hear about us. And again, I truly appreciate you being here. All right, cool. Let's do a giveaway. I haven't given away a Freightpreneur t-shirt in a little bit. Let's do a Freightpreneur shirt giveaway, okay? Freightpreneur, someone who solves problems you don't know you have in ways you can't understand, all right? So I'm going to give one of these shirts away, and then based on time, maybe we'll do another giveaway. We'll see how it goes. All right, so here's all you got to do. Lean in very carefully and listen to what you got to do in order to qualify to be entered to win the shirt. All right. Now this is US only. All right. I'm going to be upfront with you guys about this because I only ship these things in the US. I don't do it international. So if you're in the US, you can participate in this giveaway. Here's all you got to do. What I want you to do is I want you to subscribe to the Freight Broker Bootcamp YouTube channel. So if you pull up your iPhone, you can go to YouTube, search Freight Broker Bootcamp. You'll see my bald, shiny head. The page is youtube.com/freightbrokers. What I want you to do is click the subscribe button and then click the all notifications bell. So if you click subscribe and then the all notifications bell, which is required in order to be a part of this giveaway, come back into the comments and let me know that you subscribed on YouTube and you click the all notifications bell. You got to let me know both. Okay. If you just say I subscribed, you can't win. Okay. If you just say done, you can't win. You got to say subscribed on YouTube, click the all notifications bell. That will qualify you as one of the people that could win the t-shirt. And then we're going to do the quick giveaway. And then we're going to dive into live Q&A. So stick around with me. If you guys have questions, let me know. I'm going to be here. Hold tight. Don't type your questions in yet because we are going to do the giveaway and your questions will get lost. Tony Petroselli, you can't win by saying done, my friend. I'm sorry to be so particular, but I got to be fair. Subscribed on YouTube, clicked all notifications bell. Okay. Just like Adrian did. See, Adrian did it. It's perfect. All right. Cool. Awesome. Thank you. All right. And this is an honor system, of course, but if you do win and I ask you to verify that you are subscribed, you'd probably look kind of foolish. So my suggestion to you is take the 15 seconds it'll take to subscribe, 10 seconds, 5 seconds probably, to the Freight Broker Bootcamp channel, youtube.com/freightbrokers, and subscribe to the channel, and you will get notified. I release new videos, new trainings every week. We've got hundreds of free training videos on there alone, but we put new training videos out there every single week, and you'll get notified of the lives. You'll get notified whenever I do release any short trainings. Whenever I release any weekly training videos, you guys will get notified. So, all right, cool. So what do we got here? Do we got a few people that are subscribing? Yeah. All right. So we're going to give it one more minute, subscribe, and then we're going to do the giveaway, the Freightpreneur t-shirt, someone who solves problems you don't know you have in ways you can't understand. And no, I don't sell these. I don't sell the shirts. Okay. So if you want this shirt or a chance to win this shirt, you got to participate. All right, cool. All right. So Novelty Logistics. Cool. You're in Toronto. Yeah, we're only a couple hours away. We need a shirt. All right. Well, if you're in the giveaway, then you might get the shirt. All right, cool. So here we go. 30 seconds, and then I'm going to do the giveaway. So you got 30 seconds to subscribe to the channel. Subscribe. Click the subscribe button on YouTube. There's the URL. And then make sure you hit the all notifications bell. All right. All right. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. All right, cool. All right. So let's do the giveaway. Here we go. All right. So I have a very non-scientific way of doing it. I scroll through the feed with my eyes closed. Let me find here we are. Scroll through the feed with my eyes closed, and I randomly pick one person. I push my mouse, and Tony Petroselli is glad that he reconsidered his initial entry, which when he said done, and he said subscribed on YouTube and all notifications bell. Congratulations, Tony. You're the winner of the Freightpreneur t-shirt. Someone who solves problems you don't know you have in ways you can't understand. Here's all you got to do. Listen carefully. Go to my Freight Broker Bootcamp Facebook page. So you go to Facebook, find the Freight Broker Bootcamp page, and message me your full name, your mailing address, your size, and that you won the YouTube Subscribe t-shirt giveaway. If you do that, I'll send you the shirt for free, and you'll get it within about a week or two. All right? So hit me up on the Freight Broker Bootcamp Facebook page, like the page, then message me with your full name, your mailing address, your size, and that you won the YouTube Subscribe t-shirt giveaway. Awesome. Thank you so much, Tony, for participating. All right, cool. Let's jump into Q&A. No, you're not. Bear, you're not unsubscribing. You'd be a fool to unsubscribe. You'll miss all my good stuff. All right, cool. Let's jump into Q&A. Hit me up in the comments with your questions. Now, caveat here, okay? I know I'm not going to get to everybody's questions. There's no way. I'm probably going to get 100 questions in this stream. I'll never get to them all. I'm going to try to get to the questions that are the most relevant in a timely manner. Okay. So if I don't get to your questions today, I'll try to come back in the feed later and answer those questions. If not, come back next week and ask your questions again. Usually if you're one of the first people to ask, then you usually are more likely to have a chance to get your questions answered. Dexter GHS says, can you broker out crude oil freight? Well, it's a really good question. I believe that there are tankers. It is a niche. I mean, here, put it this way. Crude oil goes on a truck at some point during the supply chain. Okay? So it pumps up out of the ground, then it goes in a pipeline, and then at some point, it probably goes in a ship or it goes on a rail car, but eventually it goes on a truck. So yeah, I believe that crude oil would be a niche. Now, I'll be completely honest with you. I have never pursued that niche. I don't know if I've ever, in the $200 million that we did as a brokerage, I don't know if we ever moved a load of crude oil. But logically speaking, I think that crude oil is probably a niche, but you're going to have to do some research. Okay. That's where that research part comes in. All right. Good question though. Thanks. Thank you. Thank you, Keith Lemon, very much. Congratulations on your success, and we look forward to having you. All right, I'm scrolling. All right, so here's a question from NextLinks. Do you need any extra licensing to get started in auto hauling? Visiting local car dealers who help you get auto hauling business? No, there is no additional licensing that you require for auto hauling. As long as you have your freight broker authority, okay, then you have the right to broker any commercial freight. Okay. So yeah, no, you do not require any specific or special licensing or bonding or any of that for car hauling. Now, there could be, depending upon the shipper, some special insurance requirements of the carrier and maybe even of the broker. But that, again, that's separate. Those are optional based upon the shippers, not based upon government regulations or the FMCSA. Okay, here's a question from Old Young. I work for an LTL company for a couple of years. I was wondering, how do I find LTL freight, since you said start with a niche that you have experience with? Okay. Well, LTL freight, just so you guys understand the difference, what is LTL? LTL is less than truckload. And then FTL is full truckload. And PTL is partial truckload. Now, we're not going to go into all those, but LTL, depending upon what you mean by LTL, I'm going to assume that you mean common carrier LTL, which is typically smaller LTL It's 1 or 2 or 3 pallets. It might be a couple hundred pounds up to maybe a couple thousand pounds. And it takes up a small amount of space. And it usually runs based on freight class, weight, and dimensions. So LTL freight is a niche, but it's probably not a defined enough niche. If you just said LTL freight, I would probably tell you that you need to niche down further. LTL in itself is too broad of a niche. I'm not a huge fan myself personally of LTL freight for startup freight brokers because and here's why, because if you move an LTL shipment and it's a $400 shipment, okay, and you in LTL, or let's say it's a $300 shipment and you're able to make 20%, that's $60 you made on that load, hypothetically. Whereas if you move a full truckload that might be $1,500 and you make 20%, you're now making $300. The fact is that moving an LTL load is probably going to take almost as much time as moving a full truckload, and you're going to make a fraction of the profit on that load. So from a startup perspective, I'm not a huge fan of it. But if you have specific knowledge, unique and interesting and compelling knowledge and experience in and around LTL, it may be a great niche. But I think you'd need to niche down further. Yes, you could pursue LTL as a niche. How would you find shippers in that niche? Well, most full truckload providers, there's more LTL shippers than there are full truckload shippers. So you won't have to search nearly as hard for LTL as you do full truckload. All right. So the focal point there would probably be focus on smaller to medium-sized businesses, might be a little bit better. Focus on products that are more consumer oriented versus B2B. They're not necessarily selling them to a business, but maybe they're consumer oriented. Those would be a couple of tips, but my biggest tip to you is to niche down a little bit further. Okay. So I hope that helps. All right. Adrian asked, you stated niching down is key. Is drayage import out of port of LALB and outbound all over the US for 4 years now? Would import export be my niche? Okay, well, I think that your niche sounds like your niche is drayage. Now, your drayage is servicing the import export niche. So yeah, you are definitely tied into the import export niche. But what I like about what you did is you focused on specific ports. Okay. So you didn't just say, hey, I want to do import export, or hey, I want to do drayage. You said, I want to do drayage at the ports at these specific ports, right? So yeah, that's your niche. Your niche is import export. And it's the drayage component, which is a great niche, right? A great niche. Congrats. Yeah, I love it. I'd love to hear some story. I'd love to hear more information about your business. How's your business doing? Private message me and let me know. I'd love to hear from somebody who's having success in the drayage market. Maybe we can have you on one of these future lives as a guest and we could talk a little bit about it. I'd love to hear it. Okay, here's a question from Bob Boldra. What is your best resource for validating the niche that you choose as far as geography, trucks to load ratio, or people in the niche? Okay, well, listen, we have this little tool called the internet who's lorded by this giant monster called Google. And I don't have an exact resource for you because the resource for every niche might be different. Okay. If you're researching the produce niche, you might get a lot of information from produce associations, or you might get it from a specific, blog or a specific trade journal, or, you might get it from some government agency that deals with that or that manages, monitors, regulates that. But the key is Google will be your starting point. So then you're going to do some searches on if your niche is, what did you say your niche was again? Let's say it's the produce niche, right? You're going to go on, you're going to look for agricultural growers, produce market. You're going to talk about different types of produce. You're going to search different types of produce. You're going to find a bunch of resources there for statistics and data, right? Growth metrics, all those sorts of things. And I would start with Google. Now, as far as truck to load ratio, as far as understanding the trucking component of it, you can also do some research on Google, but probably the best research you'll find will be using load boards, right? Load boards based on the type of equipment that you would primarily be using. So we know that if you're doing produce, you're probably going to be using a lot of vans and reefers, right? We know if you're doing steel, you're probably going to be using a lot of flatbeds. We know that if you're doing, meat or dairy or something like that, you're probably going to be using reefers, right? So, I mean, the type of equipment that you are going to be using a lot, you'll be able to identify on the load boards. And then those specific regions, if you niche it down geographically, you'll be able to obviously get a sense as to load to truck ratio there. So those would be the two primary resources. It does take some work, but trust me, doing some research on that, going into it with your eyes wide open is a very important component. Number one, it builds your confidence in that niche, which will allow you to stay with that niche longer to help pursue it. Number two, it's going to allow you to educate yourself so you can be intelligent when you're speaking about that niche to a potential shipper. All right. So I hope that helps. All right. Anna says, I've seen contradictory information from you. You said to look into shippers and only make a few well-researched phone calls per day. I don't think I said that, but have also said if you're not getting shippers, you should be making 100 calls per day. Thoughts? Okay. All right. So first of all, when we're talking about, I'm going to relate this back to my lesson today. When you're niching down, this is pre-sales. This is pre-cold outreach. This is pre-cold calling. So the research that you do up front, you're not going to want to do 1 or 2 minutes of research. You're going to be doing hours probably of research about your potential niche. Okay. So this is pre-sales. Now, once you get into sales, I don't think I've ever said you're only going to make a few calls a day. You may have assumed that, but that's not the case. Here's what I said. I do not believe in order to be successful as a freight broker or freight agent, you have to make 100 or 200 calls a day. I don't believe that's the case. Okay. But the determining factor is going to be your level of skill in selling to your niche. So here's what I've ascertained over years. The less experience you have, the less skills you have, the less sophisticated you are about freight broker sales, the more calls you're going to have to make in order to get a shipper. The more skills you have, the better your skills are, the more honed your skills are, the better your system is, the less calls you'll have to make in order to get a shipper. Now, regardless of your skill level, my thought is you should be doing a little bit of research about that specific shipper before every call. I call it gathering sales intelligence. So you would take 2 or 3 minutes to take a look at their website, search on Google, and maybe look at their LinkedIn profile. Find the shipping manager and look at their LinkedIn profile. Once you learn how to do this, it'll only take a couple minutes. You can gather some intelligence, you gather some data, you gather some information that will educate you on how to create a compelling hook, how to have an interesting conversation, how to stand out from the crowd, how to get their attention. And then when you do get their attention, you will better understand their business. So you will be able to speak in a way that attracts them to you, in a way that builds rapport, in a way that builds confidence. Okay. So perfect example, you call up a shipper, they pick up the phone and you ask them the stupidest question in all freight broker questions is, all right, so tell me a little bit about what you ship. What type of products do you guys ship? That is the dumbest question that you could ever ask a shipper. Why is it dumb? It's dumb because it shows that you are lazy and I'm not talking to you, I'm just talking in general. It shows that you are lazy and you didn't even take the time to understand their products. Come on, guys. This is simple shit. But trust me, some of you have done this. And trust me, there are way more people that are not on this live that have done it than you will possibly imagine. So doing research, is important. But getting back to the point, so I think I distinguished the better your skills are, the less calls you'll have to make. I can tell you right now that I could pick up the phone today and I would never have to make 100 phone calls to get a shipper. Okay? I wouldn't, just the way it is, because I've got the experience, I've got the skills. But someone who's brand new might have to do that. The key is you have to go through those first 100 calls to build your confidence and to learn what works and what doesn't. And then as you get better, you won't have to make as many calls. So here's a good time. I launched my Freight Broker Sales Accelerator about a week ago. The first live coaching call starts this week. It's closed. You can't join. But here's what I can tell you. If you guys want to get on the wait list for the next one, my Freight Broker Sales Accelerator is a 5-week coaching program where I take this piece of my brain, everything about freight broker sales, my favorite strategies, tactics, tools, and my system, and I put it in a box, and then I coach you for 5 weeks on that. Get on the wait list for the next one. I don't know when it's going to open, but it'll probably open, it'll open sometime next year, probably in the first quarter. But yeah, if you want to get on the wait list, get on that wait list. If you're talking about if you need help learning how to get shippers and you need help with developing your sales skills and systems and strategies, that's the place where you want to go. Get on the wait list. All right. Anna, that was a good question. Thank you. Anna, second question. You're lucky. I just happened to click on it. I don't normally answer 2 questions in a row from the same person. If you had to pick one, would you choose to use LinkedIn or cold calling? I think I know the answer to the one considering the Sales Accelerator program you have. Okay. Me personally, I would choose both. If I were a startup and I were trying to grow rapidly, okay, and get through that first 6 months where we start generating positive cash flow, I would probably do both. I would do LinkedIn and I would do cold calling and I would do emailing and I would do face-to-face. I would do a multi-touch point, multi-channel outreach strategy. Why? Because it's the fastest way to break through the noise and get a shipper's attention. If you limit yourself to just cold calling, you're going to get X%. If you limit yourself to just LinkedIn, you're going to get X%. If you limit yourself to just face-to-face, you're going to get X%. But if you accumulate them all together, it's a much bigger opportunity for you. So that's my answer. But I do love LinkedIn. Okay, so here's a question. Just win, baby. All right. Been pounding the pavement, shadowing a broker from LDI for 1 week. I've done LinkedIn, cold calling, and emailing with no loads yet, but have leads. Continue as I am? Yeah. With minor adjustments to what you find is not working. Stop doing the things that aren't working. Do more of the things that are working. Yeah. It's been a week. I mean, it's been a week. You've shadowed a broker. You've done some LinkedIn cold calling and email. You don't even tell me how many you've done, which I don't need to know. But yeah, you're seeing success. You've got leads. You've got opportunities. Continue doing what you're doing. Absolutely. Yeah. I think you're on the right track. You just need to do more. Just so you know, very, very, very few freight broker or freight agent startups are going to move freight week 1. Very few. I mean, it's probably, I don't know. It's probably less than, it's very few. Okay. You probably count it on one hand or less week 1. Now, week 2, month 1, month 2, now all of a sudden you're much more realistic because it takes a while to fill your sales funnel. It takes a while to build that know, like, and trust that is required for a shipper to want to do business with you. It doesn't happen on one call. It doesn't happen on one email. It doesn't happen on one meeting, right? You need to have multiple touch points with that shipper, with that prospect. You might have to have 6 or 8 different communications with them, face-to-face, phone, email, whatever, before you even get a real opportunity. So yeah, keep doing what you're doing. Carolyn, be more specific. What broker insurance? There is no broker insurance. What insurance are you talking about? Be specific on what you're looking for. Okay, here's a good question from Teal Love. When is the best time to start up? I want to do it as soon as yesterday, but I don't want to put the time into starting up and running into obstacles that could have been addressed in the startup. Well, if you're talking about timing, the best time to start up is when if you're talking about broker, you've already got your freight broker authority. You've already researched your niche. You've got your office set up, right? Those basic things are check, 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 right? As far as starting up your sales effort, where you're going to start doing sales outreach to your target, that's when, right? Here's what you got to understand. There is no perfect time to start a business. I don't care if you're starting a coffee shop. I don't care if you're starting a freight brokerage. I don't care if you're starting a real estate company, if you're going to be a contractor. I don't care what it is. Okay. There is no perfect timing. I will tell you that some of the most successful companies in the history of the world were started during an economic downturn. And my belief is that if you can start your business during a downturn and you can survive through that, it teaches you to operate at a tighter level. It teaches you how to be a better operator, a better entrepreneur. And then when the market turns, which it always does, right? Here's the market. Every market is like this. It's not always like this, and it's never like this, okay? Unless you're a buggy whip salesman, then it goes like this, right? But it's like this. It goes up, it goes down, and it continues to trend up. No matter what niche you're in, no matter what industry you're in, look at it over the last 100 years, that's what you're going to see. So there is no perfect time. The time is when you are prepared. There's a great saying that my old wrestling coach, luck is when opportunity meets preparation. Okay. So you can't get lucky until you're prepared, and you can't start your business till you meet those basic preparations. But once you're prepared, launch, even if you don't think you're ready, launch, right? Because you got to get started. You got to get that flywheel going. You got to make that first call so you can make the 10th call, so you can make the 100th call, so you can do your first freight quote, so you can get rejected, so you can get your second freight quote, so your third freight quote, and then you can get your first shipper, and then you move your first load, and then you move your 10th load. But it's a process, okay? And, if you wait for all the lights to turn green before you leave for work in the morning, you're always going to be late, okay? So ship it. Let's do it. DRS, my question is about accounting. Do you think it's better to do the accounting by myself, as I am a new startup broker? Well, as a startup broker, there's not going to be a lot of accounting. It's going to be very little. Number one, day one, you're not moving any loads. So what accounting is there? If you're not invoicing shippers and you're not paying carriers, then there's not a lot of accounting. As your business grows, then you may need somebody, you may need a bookkeeper. You may need somebody that can cut checks. You may need somebody that can collect payments. I can tell you that when I first started, I did it all, but I also had I had someone dedicated to managing the financial side, because I don't like the financial management component. right? I'm on the sales and marketing and operations side, not the financial management side. So that's going to be completely up to you. If you're comfortable with it, then do it. But if you're incompetent when it comes to accounting and all that, the financial side of it, then hire somebody to do it, because initially it's not going to be that expensive because there isn't much to do. So I can't give you a right or wrong answer. You kind of got to go with your gut based on your level of experience. I think that if you're not from the accounting background, you will want to outsource that fairly quickly. If you do start managing that on your own, you'll probably want to outsource that pretty quickly. You don't need to hire somebody internally to do that. You could outsource that to a bookkeeper initially, and it'll be a lot more affordable than bringing in a full-time person. Or you could bring in maybe a part-time person. So I hope that helps. Okay, here's a question from Lado. I've been doing Conestogas for 5 years, and I'd love to pursue that niche. Do I also deal with flatbed loads or just stick with Conestoga only? I don't know. You tell me. I think Conestoga is, or if you pick any specific equipment, I think it's too broad. I think you need to niche down further, because you're talking, I'll move anything that goes on a Conestoga anywhere in the country. That's probably not what I would suggest. I would either say Conestoga, and then I would focus in on a specific industry or a geography or both. Now, if you find that the Conestoga market is not big enough to thrive, then you might want to add flatbeds to that, right? So now you're going to do flatbeds and Conestoga in this specific niche or region or geography. So I hope that helps. Okay, here's a question from Devin. I'm told that my quotes are too high from shippers. I use my rating tools as well as speaking directly with carriers when quoting lanes. How would you handle a situation like this? I'm looking at. Okay, so it sounds to me like you're doing some of the right things. So you're starting with rating tools. You're getting a little bit of a baseline. Here's the problem. The problem is, and this is where most people go wrong when they get rating data from carriers. This is probably what you're doing, or what a lot of people do, the mistake they make. They'll see a carrier on a load board posting their truck. They're posting a van from Buffalo to Atlanta. And then they call that carrier and they say, hey, I got regular loads out of Buffalo to Atlanta. How much do you want? The full truckload van, Buffalo to Atlanta. How much? And they're going to ask the carrier how much they want. And the carrier, of course, is going to say whatever they want. They're going to shoot for the moon. If the normal rate on that is $2,000, they're probably going to say $2,200, $2,400, $3,000. What's the worst that you can say? No. And you're using that very high end or unrealistic rate to then build your rates upon. So what you have to do with carriers when you are determining the rates, if you don't understand the market and you're just starting out, you need to understand what it costs from a van. What's the normal cost from a van from Buffalo to Atlanta? You need to start very low. And that's just the way it is. This is a negotiation, right? This is chess. It's not checkers. Okay. Anybody can play checkers. This is chess. So if let's say it's 1,500 miles. I don't know what it is. I think it's maybe 1,200 miles, right? Buffalo to Atlanta, 1,200 miles. And you know that the rating tools are telling you it's $2 a mile. I don't know what it's telling you, but I'm just saying hypothetically, it's telling you $2 a mile is kind of the average to the truck, right? That would mean that 2,400 all in is kind of the rate. I would definitely not start at 2,400. I would probably start at 1,800 or 2,000. I'd say, listen, I run these loads regularly, $1,800, and try to get a feel for what the carrier says. If the carrier hangs up on you immediately, get a few of those, and then you're going to move up your rate, maybe to 1,900, maybe to 2,000. You're going to try to find what I call find the market. Okay. You need to find the market. And that's what you're going to have to do when you're trying to figure that out. So start out low, work your way up. If you tell them 1,800, they stay on the phone. They're going to say, oh, I couldn't touch that for less than 2,300. And then now you've got a little bit of a negotiation back and forth. And then at that point, now you're trying to negotiate down, see how far you can get them down. If you can get them down to 2,100, right? And then all of a sudden, now you've got a pretty solid rate. That's one rate. If you do that with a few different carriers, and you see the average is coming in somewhere between 22,000 and 2,200, you could assume that you're probably going to have to pay about 2,100, and you can use that as a baseline to add your margin on top and then provide that to your shipper, as opposed to the 2,400 and then adding your margin on top and then quoting the shipper 2,600. You might be quoting the shipper 2,300, and that $300 makes all the difference, right? You're way high at $300. Okay. So that's a mistake. I don't know exactly what you're doing, but that's the mistake I see. They will call carriers and they'll ask them what they want to run that lane. It doesn't matter what the carrier wants. Listen, I understand, but this is business, right? So yeah, I'm sure they'd want $3 a mile, but that doesn't mean they're going to get it. Okay. The market determines that. So supply and demand determine that. So negotiate the best rate you can with those carriers and then use that as your baseline to mark up your rate for your quote. So I hope that helps. Malik asks, what's your take on running reefer loads? I think refrigerated loads are great. I think it's a great niche that needs to be niched down further. You can't just say, hey, I'm going to run reefer loads. Our reefer's my niche. For a startup, that's not niched down enough. Like I said to you before, one of the mistakes, not niching down enough. That's a great start, but you need to niche down further. You need to find a specific industry that you will service and or maybe a geography or region that you're going to service, and then attach that to your reefer equipment. And then from there, that's probably a good niche. So yeah, refrigerated freight's great. Yep. Oh, here's a good question from Robert. Do you believe a new agent can secure new customers only via email and maybe LinkedIn messages, no phone calls? Okay. So I have students, Mike Burke, as well as several others, who have never made a cold call and have built 6 and 7 figure freight brokerages. Now, that's not to say that I'm not saying yes to your question, but what I'm saying is they didn't make cold calls. So they started the conversations using other mediums like email and LinkedIn. So do I believe you can get a shipper without ever making a phone call? Very low probability, because here's the flow. You can start the conversation by using email and LinkedIn, but eventually you're probably going to have a phone call, but it won't be a cold call. It'll just be a call after you've already built some rapport. You already see there's a need, and now they want to vet you a little bit further. You need to build some rapport. Again, it's very hard to build that know, like, and trust digitally when you're talking about this type of service. But you can start the conversation that way. You can find and connect and engage with your prospects, but it's going to be hard to convert them into an actual shipper without having a face-to-face meeting or a phone call. So chances are you will have to make a phone call, but it won't be a cold call. It'll be more of a warm call or an invited call or something where you've scheduled a call with your prospect based on that digital dialogue. So I hope that helps. I'm scrolling. Give me a minute. Adrian, invoicing software is typically built into the TMS. If it's not, then you would just use some basic accounting software. Carolyn, if you don't have the money to renew your bond and you want to stay in the freight industry, pivot over to become an agent. You won't have to have a bond. You won't have to have an authority. You won't have to have anything. Become an agent. If you want to continue to pursue it, become an agent. Work as an agent for a few years. Build up your customer base, build up your cash flow, build up your assets, your resources, your experience, and then you could always convert back to a broker later if you choose to. I'm scrolling. I'm trying to find questions that I haven't answered or are interesting. Okay, so here's a good question. Which is the most efficient TMS software for new freight brokerage? Okay, here's where I would go. There are tons of software out there. I have personally spent well over $1 million building my own software during my career, but I don't recommend that. So here's what I would suggest. Freight Broker Bootcamp, we have a preferred vendor list, which means I know Tim Hyam personally. I interviewed him. I've known him for years. He's a very reputable, honest guy. They have built a software, and I would strongly suggest that you check it out. You can check out freightbrokerbootcamp.com/TMS. He's put a special offer together where you can get a free trial for 30 days or 30 or 60 days with no credit card. You don't have to put a credit card in. And he gives you all kinds of bonuses. I love his software. And I love it not only for startups, but growing into it as a more mature company. Here's why, because Tim and his team are very innovative. They're always creating new types of automation, new types of features, new types of partnerships in an effort to try to make your job easier as a broker. Okay. So he has a very, very successful company. We've sent a lot of students over there. And if you go over there to that page and you put the coupon code FBBC, you will get the bonuses. If you don't put the coupon code in, you won't get the bonuses. Okay. So you got to put FBBC, which stands for Freight Broker Bootcamp, in the coupon code when you sign up. It's absolutely free. Doesn't require a credit card, and you can do a free trial that way. Okay. So that's about as easy as we can get it. You absolutely don't, it's zero risk for you. All right. But you got to put FBBC in the coupon code or you won't get the bonuses. All right, listen, that's going to wrap it up for today. I hope you guys enjoyed this. I hope this was something that you were looking for. Do me a huge favor. Let me know in the comments. Rate this from 1 to 10. Tell me what you guys think of this. 1, this training was terrible. 5, it was okay. It could be better. Here's what I would suggest you do. Or 10, Dennis, you hit it out of the park. This is absolutely perfect. Please come back next week and do another free training. Let me know what you guys think. If I didn't get to your question, maybe I'll try to come back in the feed and answer it later this week. If not, come back next week. I do these live trainings every Monday at noon. You can also ask your questions under any of my YouTube videos, and we try to come in every week and answer those questions if you comment under the YouTube videos. And I appreciate you guys being here. I know you guys are busy. I know you're trying to build a business. I understand how that is. But again, I've been an entrepreneur since my first business I started was in 1994. Okay. It's 28 years now that I've been an entrepreneur. So it hasn't been all unicorns and rainbows. I've had lots of failures, a few good successes. Here's the good thing. In order to build a successful freight brokerage or freight agency, you don't need hundreds or thousands of customers. You just need a small handful. So all I can suggest to you is this. If you don't believe me, check out some of the student success stories. Go to my YouTube channel, check out the student success stories. You guys will see how people with no experience who have English as a second language, men, women of all shapes, colors, nationalities, and experience levels have built successful freight brokerages or freight agencies and are now making 6 or 7 figures. This is not me. This is my students. And all I can tell you is that startupfreightbrokerbootcamp.com, you'll get instant access to all of the online training. You'll get an instant access to a paid members community where you get access to thousands of students that have already been in your shoes before, that you can ask questions directly to them. And you'll get unlimited support from us. Okay. So hope you guys enjoy it. Have an awesome day. And let me see what the feedback was. All right, cool. Good feedback. Good feedback. All right. Awesome. 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 Let's see. Thank you, Noah. Thank you, Wayne Cummings. Thank you, Michael Raketich. Thank you. TMS on FBB website is also good. Key with TMS, you need to study. Okay, good. All right, good feedback, guys. Thank you so much. I really, really appreciate it. Have an awesome day. Have an awesome week. And we will see you next week, Monday at noon for another Freight Broker Bootcamp Live.